glad. After everything the Traveler has done for us, I like that we can help even a little.
Citrine is so sweet. She profusely apologized for her delay in arrival and tried to hide the fact that she was stripping the Warmind bunker for parts. I've put her with a patrol of ghosts to help expunge the witness's corruption, and she's taken right to it. And with any luck, she'll put...
Regarding a Vex information depot. I want you to get in there and figure out what they know.
out for another Cabal drop or Centurion. There's an almost unreadable data artifact here labeled Oxa. It's heavily corrupted.
Guardian, received limited intel regarding the Vex Information Depot. I want you to get in there and figure out what they know.
here is how to farm double trait Saint weapons including Martyr's Retribution and the Perfect Paradox. You'll want to complete up to a certain point in the Enigma Protocol mission, but there's a way of doing this which allows you to avoid the weekly cap on double. perk weapons. Having a lot of to complete up to a certain point in the Here is how to farm double trait saint weapons including Martyr's Retribution and the Perfect Paradox. You want to complete up to a certain point in the Enigma Protocol mission, but there's a way of doing this which allows you to avoid the weekly cap on double perk weapons. Having a lot of movement options will help avoid the weekly cap on double perk weapons. Having a lot of movement options will help a lot in this farm. With things such as Shatterskate, you can complete this in less than 4 minutes, though even without this it is still a viable farm. Just be sure to look for more yellow triangles along the way to extend the time if needed. Even if you're not skating, having an eager edge sword is highly recommended just for movement capabilities, especially so since combat encounters are limited and most other weapon setups will suffice. Also note that in the room with the charging battery, the spawn point of charging pools is on a static rotation, and the order shown in this video will work every time. Just be aware of the Vex containment tracking if it's the non-taken variant of a mission, as these can be really annoying if you get caught. I'll leave a dim link in the description with a build I used for this, as it was specifically tailored for this activity. Anyway, progress through the mission until you get to the midway point, in which a loot chest spawns and the timer is paused. At this stage you'll get a guaranteed double trait saint weapon, a seasonal engram and a few shards and prisms. But from here it is crucial that you force reboot network instance on the nearby interactable Vex node. This will simply restart the mission without you needing to orbit. And the reason you want to do this is if you fully complete this mission at any point in the week, this is what will trigger the lockout. And from this point, any weapon you get will only have a single trait in each column. This is what will trigger the lockout. To do this is if you fully complete this mission at any point in the week, this is what will trigger the lockout. And from this point, any weapon you get will only have a single trait in each column. But for some reason however, you can just repeat this checkpoint as many times as you want, getting a double trait every time. When first launching this mission, you will have the option to launch Unmatchmade. I highly recommend this one, as with random fire teams they may not want to reset the mission midway, which will force you to leave and re-queue. You can still bring friends with you on this Unmatchmade version, which will help speed things up even more. I much prefer just doing this method of farming, as the double traits you get here make it so much more likely that you'll get the rolls you are looking for, and I've already hit some really nice martyrs, such as Demo and Heel Clip in column 3 and Incandescent or Strategist in column 4. There's also a chance to get a double down Perfect Paradox with both Trench Barrel and 1-2 Punch as toggleable options. And I know that some of these weapons will probably be focusable soon from the helm, but this farm is also a great source of seasonal engrams too. So if you still need a few rolls after this, you'll have additional engrams available to roll for them at the helm instead. Thank you for watching.
What is up guys, it's your boy Rick Kakis, and today we have a brand new Xur inventory review for the weekend of September 27th to the 30th, and so let's get started. Now Xur is going to be in the same place in the tower he always is since his update within the final shape. Alright, let's take a look at what he has. Firstly, for the catalyst, well, we do have the Cerberus +1 catalyst, which actually just got a recent buff. That's pretty interesting. And then the Bad Juju catalyst. Both of these obviously are going to pretty drastically improve the weapon therefore, but none of them are super duper meta. Then we have the Sealed Ahamkara Grasps, 66, a little too much mobility, not really too spiky. Then Intellect, 66 on the Phoenix Cradles here, Intellect Recovery, again, really not great. And then we have a Nezarec Sin here, 69, with a massive amount of Discipline. Now that's very good, Mobility is a bit too high for me, but I do know that some people like mobility for their warlocks, just that extra movement speed, so you could consider this for sure. We do have the exotic class items back again. They're going to be on sale for the entirety of the weekend, so you can farm strange coins and buy as many of these as you want, guys. Now, moving on from there to, well, what's the special offer? It's going to be Vanguard engrams. Then onto the actual weapons here, we have for the Hawkmoon, Eye of the Storm here. Actually not a bad perk for dueling, especially on console. Full bore is going to drastically increase the range here. And then Textured Grip to increase the handling. Overall, you can definitely do better. Like, this is not that insane. If you're really desperate for one, like Full Bore and Eye of the Storm isn't terrible, but it's not great either. Then we have a Suros Regime here. Not a bad auto rifle going to, I mean, this thing actually dominated the Crucible for a little bit because it could increase the rate of fire here on spitting up. So, like, a pretty unique weapon, but not that insane. Prometheus Lens, kind of the same thing. Unique weapon, really not that meta or anything like that. Then we have the Prospector. Actually, a pretty high damaging exotic. Like, this actually shoots faster than any legendary hand cannon. Sorry, not hand cannon, grenade launcher, and it's going to also provide damage over time because of its intrinsic traits. So this thing actually kind of rips, but it's still, you know, it's not like it sees a ton of play. After that, guys, for the actual weapons here, we have the Seven Seraph with, well, actually 4th times plus Vorpal. This is actually a pretty darn good roll here if you're using an SMG to defeat barrier champions or whatever anti-champion SMG rounds are currently within the seasonal artifact. This is actually a pretty solid roll that you can pick up. After that, we have the brass attacks with Killing Wind 1 for all. I like 1 for all, but not really Killing Wind. We have a Sojourner's Tale with Quick Draw Killing Wind. I mean, well, hold on a second. It does have accurized rounds and a hammer forged and the range masterwork, so your range is going to be absolutely bumping. With the quick draw and Killing Wind, like, honestly, really not terrible if you are in the market for a pinpoint slug frame for PvP. Now, they don't actually see that much play, but every once in a while you see someone running it who's good with them and they absolutely clap you from across the map, so you can consider that for sure. Then we have a Bug Out Bag with Perpetual Fragile Focus. Actually not terrible since Fragile Focus got its buff, but also not the best. Then we have a Temptations Hook with Energy Transfer Surrounded. Surrounded is good, Energy Transfer is not. Then we have a Auto-Loading Chain Reaction Memory Interdict, no thank you. And we have a Tireless Vorpal Crown Splitter. Not terrible, honestly, because you have Honed Edges as well. So, yeah, Tireless to get ammo back after kills, and then Vorpal Weapon is actually not bad either. So, it's kind of okay. It's not the best. All right, now let's check the rarity of the Genshin Impact Knight helmet on Light.gg. So, this is an OG set, originally added back in Season 1, and in terms of rarity, it's kind of in the middle, with just over 38% of Guardians having access to this very helmet. Anything in the 30s is a little bit on the rarer side in terms of what Xur sells. The more common sets are in the high 40s, if not 50s. So again, this is kind of right in the middle if you want to pick it up for transmog purposes. Now, in terms of the actual rolls here, on the gauntlets, 66, a lot of discipline, but way too much mobility in my opinion. Then we have 63, not really too spiky at all. Then we have 62 for the helmet, lost strength, but not that great. And 63, everything but mobility and strength is all right. Now let's go check the Warlock. All right, for the Warlock, let's check the sword here first. Energy Transfer Assassin's Blade, mid. All right, now as for the armor, 65, a lot of recovery followed up by discipline. Actually not a bad piece right here. Then we've got the chest piece here, a lot of strength, nothing much else. 63, not that amazing. 64 for the helmet, tons of discipline followed by recovery, and resilience is not a bad helmet either. And then the legs, we got 65, really not too spiky. All right, let's check the Hunter. All right, for the Hunter, let's check this sword here. Oh, okay, wait a second. This roll is actually insane. So importantly, we finally, after months, have a Quick Fang being sold with Assassin's Blade. That is the most important perk you're looking for with the Quick Fang. Now why? Assassin's Blade is going to boost movement speed and damage after a final blow, and the Quick Fang is one of only 2 lightweight frame swords in the entire game. It's the Quick Fang and the Gold Tusk. So you already have better movement speed, and so combined with Assassin's Blade, you are flying with the Quick Fang. Now combined with that, we do have Tireless Blade, which is extremely good. In fact, this is the PvP God roll. Tireless Blade just requiring 1 sword kill, as long as you have ammo, is going to give you an ammo back. That is extremely good. Now, the PvE God roll would be, instead of Tireless, you have Relentless, right? So if you already have a Relentless Assassin's Blade Quick Fang, you're good to go. But guys, if you don't, or if you do want the PvP God roll, 100% pick this up. In fact, it's so good, I'm going to buy it myself. Now, as for the armor here, guys, 64, a lot of recovery, and then a little bit of strength. It's kind of mid. Okay, 65, unfortunately, a little bit too much intellect, but the mobility spike is outrageous, definitely worth considering for the hunter. And then 66, well, if you need more discipline for whatever build you're rocking, this is the helmet for you, because holy crap, that is a massive discipline spike. Actually, a pretty decent piece overall. And then 64, not really too spiky. Guys, that is going to be it for the video. Hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickKakis. That is linked in the description down below. Again, hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.
Bungie has been going insane with all the different archetypes of weapons they have brought to us. We're going into the 4th week of this expansion, and we're still making weapon reviews. And that's because some of these are truly unique. They're not just like, hey, here's a new weapon that shoots at a different rate of fire with a different impact amount. We're getting heavy waveframe swords. We've got Ergo Sum, which can literally roll with exotic traits from other weapons. And now we have a new archetype of auto rifle. This one is called No Hesitation. It's a 600 round per minute auto rifle that was dubbed by Bungie as the Don't Die gun. It's a brand new support frame archetype. Now I know some of you are like, Cross, I don't play support. I'm a Destiny player. I shoot the bad guys, and if I could, I would literally shoot the blueberry next to me. But Bungie won't let me. Well, with No Hesitation, you can in fact shoot your fellow blueberries, except you won't be killing them. You'll be healing them, and pretty fast. Looking at the description of this support frame archetype though, it reads, flexible and agile, capable of healing allies and hurting foes. Harming targets builds a restorative charge. Hip firing at allies while this weapon is charged heals them with rapid healing, increasing weapon damage, and bestowing restoration to your allies. Now I know, that's a lot. You want to know why Bungie got rid of legendary shards? It's so they could fit this long, hellacious weapon frame description into No Hesitation. But I want to focus on that first part. Harming targets builds a restorative charge. Now you can see it right here in the gameplay. The reticle for this weapon looks almost identical to how a reticle looks while using a glaive. And this energy bar will charge based on the amount of damage you do to enemies, and this does change depending on the tier of enemy that you are shooting. Now if you take a look here at Carl, it was taking 19 body shots to fully charge our healing energy. But if we only go for crits, it takes less, just 13 shots. Now the same thing applies to red bar enemies, but here instead, it takes only 10 body shots and 8 crits to get a full charge. Now an important thing to note is that any damage charges are healing energy. If you look here, we're starting at 0, but with a single sword heavy swing on Carl, this gets us back to full energy. So as long as you are clearing ads as you would normally, you will have constant healing for your allies. Now speaking of, taking a look at the second part of it, it states that hip firing at allies while this weapon is charged heals them with rapid healing, increasing weapon damage, and bestowing restoration to your allies. Now you can see it here. There will be a small triangle when an ally is in range to be healed. So long as you are hip firing at that ally, they will be receiving healing. Now the range on this, guys, is substantial. We found the drop off to be 31 meters before the triangle will disappear. And another thing to note is that the healing bullets track and aggressively track. So long as they are within your range, you can pretty much ensure they will get continuous healing. And then when healing allies, you'll see a buff displayed on the left of your screen called Support Frame Bonus. This grants you and your allies a 10% increase to your damage. It's not just the Don't Die gun. It's the Don't Die, Kill Everything gun. You can see here at Carl, we first hit 1,518 damage, but after being healed and with the buff active, our damage goes up to 1,670. So at a glance, this is very similar to something like Lumina. Granted, it's not as lethal as Lumina is a 35% increase in damage, but Lumina is a legendary. But we do have some traits on this weapon that can kind of get it close to that, which we'll talk about in just a moment. Where things do differ though, and get crazy, is when we talk how it stacks with Radiant and other empowering buffs, like Lumina does. Uniquely to this buff, it stacks with everything. This is an incredibly rare interaction reserved to things like Transcendence and the Titan exclusive Glaive. We can see it at work here on Carl, as when we proc Radiance with our melee, plus the Support Frame boost and Circle of Life, which gives us a 25% boost. We'll talk about that in just a second. Our damage though goes up to 2,620. Guys, this is a 73% increase over base. This interaction may not seem like it's that important, but this could have big implications for stacking buffs in the future. Now, one other thing to keep in mind is that you don't need to literally heal your allies to get this buff. Even if they are at full health, you will still both receive the damage increase. Now, with all the frame talk out of the way, let's get into the perks. Guys, this gun is loaded with a bunch of very good perks. Starting in column 3, we have Physic, Subsistence, Ensemble, Grave Robber, Demolitionist, Overflow, and Strategist. Now in column 4, we have Incandescent, Attrition Orbs, Frenzy, Disruption Break, Circle of Life, which is a new perk, Desperate Measures, and Surrounded. Now I want to first take a look at the new perks that are specific to this weapon. We're going to start with Physic. This reads that rapidly healing allies grants restoration to you and your allies. Now this of course synergizes perfectly with this weapon, considering the weapon intrinsically heals allies. This is adding an extra layer of survivability to not only your allies here, but also to yourself, which is important. Rule number 1 in any dungeon is don't let the healer die. And since you can directly heal yourself with this gun, this is really the perfect perk to help you stay alive longer, while also still boosting up your team. Now taking a look at this perk in action, we see here each time you heal an ally, Physic will proc after only a couple of shots. This will grant you and your allies restoration ×1, which lasts for 5 seconds. Now, of course, this timer can be infinitely refreshed so long as you have the energy for it. Now, there is an enhanced version of this because, of course, this is a craftable weapon, and this will instead grant restoration ×2 for 5 seconds rather than restoration ×1 to both you and your allies. Now, listen, I don't know if this is intentional or not. Normally, the enhanced versions are just slight bumps. This is a pretty big bump, and nowhere does it state explicitly that you would receive restoration ×2 from the enhanced version of this perk. And as you know, enhanced versions of perks are normally like, hey, a little more time. You go from 5 seconds to maybe 6 seconds. But this, restoration ×1 to ×2, holy hell. ×1 is 35 HP per second. ×2 is 50 HP per second. This is a very strong perk, and really it should be. It was made for this gun specifically. But now taking a look at our 4th column perk that is also new, this one being called Circle of Life. It reads that rapidly healing allies grants this weapon a period of increased damage. Dude, talk about synergy on synergy. Hot damn it. At this point, it's an exotic. You can see here, while healing an ally though, the perk Circle of Life will proc. This lasts for 10 seconds, and it grants no hesitation here a 25% increase to its damage. And the enhanced version extends the buff timer to 11 seconds rather than 10. So just for using the gun as intended, you get free damage for your weapon. And this also stacks with the 10% damage buff that we're receiving from the support frame. We can see here at Carl, we're hitting for 1,670 damage with just the support frame buff. But if we use Circle of Life, that damage goes up to 2,088 damage. Guys, this is substantial. This is a 37.5% increase in damage over base for simply using the gun as it was intended to be used. Now, while these perks are great, and they really let you lean into the weapon's playstyle, there's still other good options if you're trying to go for a more offensive perk setup. For other perks, in column 3, we have Subsistence, which will partially refill your magazine from reserves when landing a kill. This refills 10% in the mag, with the enhanced version refilling up to 20%. We also have Overflow, which, as the name implies, overflows the magazine beyond normal capacity when you pick up a special or heavy ammo brick. And this is up to 100% of your base mag, with the enhanced version overflowing 120% of your base mag. And lastly, we have Demolitionist. Always a silent one, guys. You get grenade ability energy back per kill, being roughly 10%, with the enhanced version giving you 11%. Now in column 4, We also have some other solid ones. You've got Incandescent, which is always a good one on solar weapons. This spreads 30 scorch stacks to nearby targets when an enemy is defeated, and with Ember of Ashes, this goes up to 40 scorch stacks. The enhanced version of this adds 5 more scorch stacks when using Ember of Ashes, so this would go from 40 to 45. Now you could also go things like Frenzy for that 15% damage buff. It also boosts handling and reload speed, so it's not as if this weapon is just a support weapon. Although in my opinion, that's 100% the reason why I would use this weapon. As for the origin trait though, this is found on all of our Pilheart weapons, that being called Dealer's Choice. This reads that final blows of this weapon grant a small amount of super energy. Equipping multiple weapons from the Pilheart increases this effect. Now the bump in super energy isn't anything to write home about, but it is a nice bonus. Seems to be about 1% with one weapon equipped, 2 weapons gives you 2.5%, and 3 weapons is about 4%. You also have artifact mods that synergize with this, tacking on a little bit of AoE damage when landing kills with weapons that have Dealer's Choice. Now moving on to our God Roll recommendation. If you want to go for that more offensive playstyle, Subsistence or Overflow with Incandescent is a good choice. You can lay on the trigger, especially with Subsistence, clear rooms of ads, proc Incandescent. You can't go wrong with it. But I feel like if you're using a gun centered around keeping your team alive, you gotta be using Physic and Circle of Life. These perks were made for this gun. They have beautiful synergy with one another, with Physic adding an extra layer of survivability for your allies and yourself, and then Circle of Life further boosting your weapon damage, allowing you to deal with higher health enemies on even the toughest difficulties. Now, of course, you don't need to run these perks in tandem. I actually think Physic and Incandescent is also a top tier choice. You kind of get the best of both worlds. Great survivability and amazing ad clear from Incandescent. So you have options. Now, I also want to quickly go over the different fragments and exotic armor that you can utilize to get the most out of No Hesitation. First up, we have the new Warlock exotic Speaker Sight. It comes with the perk The Lost Voice, which reads, healing grenades spawn a restorative turret. Healing allies occasionally spawns an orb of power. And when we first saw this exotic, nobody truly knew just how strong this was going to be. Let me tell you guys, it's potent. So much so that we actually made use of it throughout the day 1 raid. But the main thing we are looking to take advantage of is the second part of that perk. Healing allies occasionally spawns an orb of power. Yes, this can be healing from any source. As you can see here, it works perfectly with No Hesitation. Now, when you spawn an orb of power, there's an eternal cooldown from when you can generate another, this being about 10 seconds. But if you have the healing turrets paired with No Hesitation, it literally rains orbs for your entire team. Now onto our fragments. First, I'm going to start with our solar subclass. The big one here being Ember of Benevolence. This will give you increased ability regeneration to your grenade, melee, and class ability after applying Cure, Restoration, or Radiant to your allies. Now this is a massive 400% increase to ability regeneration for all of your abilities, which lasts for 6 seconds. Now since we're constantly applying Restoration to our allies with No Hesitation, you can keep this buff up pretty much at all times. You could also use something like Ember of Empyrean, where getting kills with solar weapons extends the duration of Radiant and Restoration. This paired with Physic, which gives us Restoration when healing allies with No Hesitation, allows us to further extend Restoration's duration up to a maximum of 15 seconds. Now you can also extend this further by using Ember of Solace to extend the duration of the initial proc of Restoration that we apply to ourselves. And then moving on to our Prismatic subclass, the only one worth mentioning here is really Facet of Sacrifice. This grants us bonus Darkness Transcendence energy while you have an Arc, Solar, or Void buff. And again, Restoration is a solar buff, so you get the idea. Now, to conclude this video, I want to briefly look at how this gun performs inside of PvP. To preface this, I want to mention again that this gun is not hit scan, similar to something like Osteo Striga. This gun shoots projectiles that tracks to targets. But unlike Osteo, the tracking inside of PvP seems very inconsistent. In PvE, tracking isn't much of an issue. Inside of PvP though, it's pretty rough. Now the healing and perks function pretty much identical. You can see here at base, we're dealing 30 damage to the head and 19 damage to the body. Then with the support frame boost active, our headshot damage goes up to 33, and our body shot damage goes up to 21. Then lastly, with the support frame boost plus Circle of Life, our damage goes up to 38 damage per head and 24 damage per body. Now listen, if you want to use this inside of PvP, go right ahead. Personally, I don't really see this being a play. I would rather just use like Summoner or something like that, right? Now maybe if you got like a super blueberry on your team that slays out, perhaps you can run around and heal them, but I wouldn't recommend it. Overall, guys, No Hesitation is an S tier weapon. Will people use it? Probably not, because nobody wants to play support. But guys, this is a weapon that I'm going to be sprinkling into my builds and loadouts for a number of reasons. The synergies that it has with certain fragments and builds, the ability to proc Restoration even for myself and my allies, while also gaining a damage buff. It's a shame that more people aren't going to try to use this weapon. They see support and they immediately think, no, that ain't me. But for me and my fire fire team, no hesitation will always have a place. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.
Normally, I like to do individual reviews of each one of these weapons, but I know many of you are probably farming right now inside of Onslaught, and you're probably looking at whatever role you have in front of you going, is this it? Is this the God role? By the way, if you have not checked out our guide on Onslaught, we will have that linked down below. We also did a video on builds that are the best inside of Onslaught, and they were 9 builds in total. That too is linked down below. Now, before we get too deep into individual roles, I think we need to go over the perks themselves, because some of these have changed. For instance, Master of Arms is a 15% damage bonus instead of 20%, and this lasts for 6 seconds, and its kills with any weapon improves his weapon damage for a short time. Desperate Measures, which is a new one, states that weapon final blows grant bonus damage. Melee and grenade final blows grant a larger damage bonus that can stack. Think of it like Golden Tricorn, guys. Times 1, which is 1 weapon kill, you get a 10% damage buff for 6 seconds, with the timer being refreshed on any kill. And times 2, 1 grenade or charge or even uncharged melee will activate this 20% buff. By the way, this can activate even while stowed. This too lasts for 6 seconds. And then at times 3, 2 grenade kills or 2 charged or uncharged melee kills will activate a 30% damage buff, which lasts for 6 seconds. Again, the timer can be refreshed on any kill. Now you may be looking at this going, Cross, why the hell would I use Master of Arms when I can get a 30% damage buff from Desperate Measures? Well, I guess the same could be said about Golden Tricorn. Why would you use Desperate Measures when you can get a 50% buff from Golden Tricorn? But keep in mind, it's the ease of use here. Desperate Measures has the ability to refresh its timer on any kill, and Master of Arms simply will just proc a larger damage bonus of 15% from any weapon kill. But I won't lie, guys, Desperate Measures, at least for me, is looking to be the better perk. Just saying. Now, Magnificent Owl. The number of precision final blows before reloading affects the total rounds granted with increased range and damage. Precision final blows with Magnificent Owl active extends the effect for additional rounds. And this stacks up to 10 times. Each stack grants 1 bullet with a 50% damage and plus 3 meters of range. Now, precision kills with the buff active will add 1 stack. And yes, the buff stays active while stowed. Question we ask, does this stack with Lucky Pants? It does, but there's gonna be somewhat of a workaround, and we're gonna get into that when we go over Luna's Howl. Now, Micro Missile. This weapon fires a high-speed projectile in a straight line and deals reduced self-damage. You move faster with this weapon equipped. Essentially, guys, this allows for rocket jumping. People are already utilizing it for speed running, but it seems to have a similar damage profile to that of like twin fire grenade launchers. But this puts them towards the top of special GLs. Okay, so with perks out of the way, let us begin God rolls for the Brave Arsenal. We're gonna start with Recluse, considering we just went over those 2 traits, both Desperate Measures and Master of Arms. First up, all of these weapons come with the origin trait Indomitability, which states that final blows grant grenade energy when playing a light subclass or melee energy when playing a dark subclass. You know, funny enough, I'm wondering how the hell this is gonna work when we have Prism. You know what I mean? I'm out here rocking the rainbow. Now, for my PvE players, there are a lot of different routes you can go. If you want to go that funnel web route, by all means, Frenzy with Feeding Frenzy, Subsistence Frenzy, you can't go wrong with that. We've got things like Destabilizing Rounds, Repulsor Brace, all in one weapon, which yes, synergizes beautifully. And then we have Desperate Measures, which we just went over. And again, what I really like about this perk is that you can continually keep refreshing that buff duration. Now, D2 Foundry says 7 seconds. I know I just said 6, but 6 to 7 seconds. In certain game modes, that's plenty of time to find another ad and start getting kills. And since so many of us are leaning into our subclasses, getting kills with our melees, getting kills with our grenades, Desperate Measures is pretty nice, guys. Now, another perk to not overlook is Surrounded. I know Surrounded, everyone's like, no, I don't want to use that. It's too hard to proc. Dude, it's an SMG. And inside of Onslaught, I literally feel surrounded all the time. All the time! We're talking a 40% damage buff that will linger for 1.5 seconds as long as I am within 8 meters of 3 enemies. Will this fall off at times? Yes. But dude, as soon as those ads pop up, boom, you got it, man. You're back to 40% more damage, which is more than even Desperate Measures. The point is, guys, you really can't go wrong here with anything. Frenzy is still really nice. I love the idea of rocking like a repulsor brace, frenzy roll with Gerfalcons, and just running around, getting volatile off, giving myself an overshield, rinse and repeat. Now I know so many are probably saying, Cross, what about Master of Arms? You haven't even talked about this. It's 15% more damage. But keep in mind, guys, it's the same as Frenzy, and you get a ton of other benefits from Frenzy, including the reload benefits, the handling benefits. Look, I'm not saying that Frenzy is clearly better than Master of Arms, because Master of Arms does proc on other weapon kills. But I will say, had Master of Arms been 20% like it was originally, it would be a much easier sell when it came to the God roll. Just my opinion, guys. Overall, for my PvE players, you can't go wrong, man. And I'm probably gonna keep 2 or 3 rolls, no lie. Now, for my PvP players, is Recluse as deadly as it once was? Well, I've only played a few games with it. Let me just say, I like it. I still like Recluse in this game mode. Now, perk-wise, the roll that I landed was Dynamic Sway and tap the trigger, and it felt phenomenal. No, there's no damage buff, but hot damn it, was it consistent. Now, I know things like Target Lock exists. Keep in mind, just like Multi-Mock, this is the same archetype. Target Lock does help, but just slightly. And man, you gotta be perfect. It allows you to get the kill in 0.67 seconds instead of 0.73 in 11 crits. You can't miss. Now, despite Target Lock really not impressing me that much, Master of Arms, I think is still a good perk inside of PvP. It's a 15% damage buff, but the main thing is that it can proc from other weapon kills. I love perks like Harmony, primarily because Harmony gives me a 20% buff, and I know Master of Arms is only a 15% buff, but I do find myself rocking double primary a lot, and having something like Master of Arms with the ability to not only proc a 15% buff on itself or on other weapon kills, guys, I'm gonna say Ricochet rounds, Dynamic Sway, Master of Arms, and Hammer Forge rifling with a ranged masterwork. That is what I'm gonna be looking for, guys. And we're still talking like a range of 20.34 meters, which is really impressive, especially on a lightweight. So that to me is gonna be the PvP God roll. And I know for PvE, I was being pretty flexible because there really is a ton of different things you can choose here. But PvP, guys, that's the role that I'm gonna be locking in on. Yes, Target Lock does help, especially in your body shot TTK values. But man, when I'm running double primary, I love rocking Shiora with Harmony. Master of Arms fits that mode perfectly because not only do I get a damage buff when I get another weapon kill, but I can also proc it on myself. So yes, I know Master of Arms is not as good as it once was, but I'm still gonna find some use cases for it. Next, we have Elsie's Rifle. Let me just say, guys, this is one of the best high impact pulse rifles in the game, which by the way, this weapon is only gonna get better. Matter of fact, all of these weapons are only gonna get better, as each one of these traits will retroactively be enhanceable in the final shape. And with that being said, for my PvE players, you've got some pretty good options. You got Frenzy here. Desperado's pretty good inside of PvE. You can even do like a rewind rounds Desperado roll. Desperate Measures exist here. It is a void weapon. You can synergize it with Gerfalcons and Repulsor Brace. With that being said though, I look at this weapon more for PvP. The rolls that I am hunting include Extended Barrel, which I know some of you are probably like, Cross, why? It hurts your handling. I know. I'm gonna work around it. I'm looking for the extra recoil direction. Extended Barrel though, either high cal or ricochet rounds, Zim Moment, and Headseeker. That to me is the PvP God roll. You're talking 2 bursts all day long. You've probably already seen this weapon inside of Trials this past weekend, and for good reason. I know at the top of the list you've got Summoner, Igneous, and Prosecutor. There's just not a lot of people that know about Elsie's, but Elsie's is disgusting. It is the no time to explain replacer. It is the Philotatic Spiral Beater. These are high impact pulse rifles that I love, but Elsie is just better. Now, I do want to try a keep away roll because keep away gives us more range. Understand the range profile that I just gave you is 36.76 meters. However, if I was to have keep away and have that active, that does bump us up to 38.04 meters. Now, this is pretty nice. There's a reason why I love keep away on Philotatic Spiral. Everything outside of 15 meters of range will grant you 10 range, 30 reload speed, and decreases that accuracy cone growth. So I actually want 2 of these. I want a Zim Moment roll with Headseeker, and I want a keep away roll. And I'm going to change things up depending on the map that I'm on. But Cross, what about Desperado? What about Kill Clip? Listen, those perks are great all day long inside of 6v6, but I like weapons that can dominate in 1v1s. And a Headseeker roll on a high impact pretty much just guarantees that you're going to get the 2 bursts. Now, one thing I do want to circle back to for my PvE players, and this is in regards to both Recluse and this weapon. Because Indomitability says that Final Blows grant grenade energy when playing a light subclass or melee energy when playing a dark subclass, this perk really does synergize beautifully with Desperate Measures. So I just want you to know, especially on Recluse, like Desperate Measures is a really nice trait. It's got a ton of ease of use. It feeds into your abilities because of the origin traits. So whether you're rocking it here on Elsie or any other weapon, I think it's a solid one across the board. Now moving on to our third weapon, which is dropping this week currently, Fallen Guillotine. Ah yes, we just did damage testing on this one. Guys, I'm gonna give you two roles. First up, for my PvP players who are bold enough to rock this, Eager's Edge with chain reaction all day long. You go in, you get the sword swipe, you get an explosion procced, bada bing, bada boom. For my PvE players though, we tested the sword damage, and I mean extensively. If you remember, not that long ago, everybody thought Slammer was gonna be the best sword in the game. Turns out, it sucked. Look at this list. This was our DPS testing here on the first encounter of Warlord's Ruin. The Fallen Guillotine actually broke all of these numbers, even surpassing that of Bequest. And that is because of the role Frenzy and Surrounded. Guys, we're talking a 15% damage buff from Frenzy and a 35% damage buff from Surrounded on swords. Now, what's so crazy is that when we get in the final shape, this is going to be enhanceable, meaning Surrounded just kicked up to 41.75%. The guy
This is a gauge of pure combat potential. This is Hard experience.
I am at your service. The walls will stand tall once again.